Hey there, everyone. It's Denise Salcedo. Welcome back to the channel. I'm very excited to introduce to you my guest for today. I am joined by Billie Starkz. Hey, Billie.
Hi guys, how are you?
It's so nice to have you on the show. It's been a while. I've been wanting to get you on for quite a bit. So when I found out you were available, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Like, let's bring her on. Let's do this. How's your day so far?
Pretty good. Busy and chaotic as normal.
Isn't that the way to go though, right? When it's busy, when it's chaotic, it's like so much better than like not having anything to do. Or do you miss those days where you're like, I kind of just want to be bored for a bit?
I feel like I love a chaotic day because it's definitely up my alley. Fits my personality.
You're like, I'm doing it. I'm going with it, right? So okay, Billy. So you've been literally just like everywhere recently. You've been doing all this stuff with GCW. You've been on AEW Dark, MLW. You were at the Ring of Honor tapings. You're just kind of all over the place. And you're so young, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. People are like, how do you do it? How do you, go out there and pursue this career of wrestling while being so young and also going to school and just so much? So I do want to kind of start off by asking you, how are you? What's your weekly schedule look like?
So Monday through Thursday, I go to school. I also work a part-time job, so go to school and then afterwards I go to my job. I also am starting to train once a week. I train every Tuesday. And then Friday through Sunday, school on Friday, and then wrestling Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then loop it all over again.
Oh my God, girl. I seriously applaud you because that is just so much responsibility to take on. And it's almost like you're living a bunch of different lives. Like you're living the student life, then you have your regular job, and then you're out there performing. How does it feel for you, like having to wear, I don't want to say like different hats, but like different hats and like just different personalities and all of these things that you do?
I feel like it gets out like, oh, I get to try this. Oh, I get to try this. And oh, I get to be a normal person, but I also get to go be a superstar on the weekends.
That's so nice. It's almost like you're living the best of both worlds, like you say, getting to be, I guess you can say, like a normal person. And then afterwards, doing your thing in wrestling and having that like superstar persona. I feel like not very many people get to experience that. So I do want to kind of get into your head in terms of like, what is that like when you're like, for example, on a Sunday, you're out there wrestling and you're, doing this and this and that, right? You're coming out of the shows, people are cheering your names, this. And then afterwards, come Monday, you're in school and it's a totally different experience. How do you handle those like super highs and then just keep, to stay focused?
Um, just having like friends and family that are super supportive of everything I do. And it's been so nice. Like my mom and dad are just in love with everything that I'm doing. And they're seeing that I'm just truly happy doing what I'm love doing, pro wrestling.
I think it's great that you have the support from your parents because I feel like if any other, person at your age was like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to go do, a wrestling career." A lot of parents would be like, "No, sit down. You're not going to do that." How do you like balance everything out with like you and your parents in terms of like do they help you out with things? What's that dynamic like?
So it's slowly been more on me since I did recently turn 18. So it's starting to be more my responsibility to take care of everything. And previously I would travel with Mouse and my mom, and now I'm starting to travel on my own. It's still a very, very nice system of like randomly Mouse will be like, "Oh, let's go together this weekend," or "Oh, you got it this weekend. Go have fun, be safe, don't do anything stupid without me."
I love that. I love that. I think it's so great though because it's so hard, especially at your age. I know at 19, like, yeah, my mom trusted me, but she wasn't going to be letting me to go like every weekend to someplace new. Like that was not going to happen. So, with that being said, like it's nice that you have that, that trust from your family where they're like, yeah, you can, go do this because we know you're out there to work and you have that trust. What does it mean to you to really have that support from your family and that trust, like I mentioned?
It just shows how great they raised me. My family has done an extraordinary job, um, making me the person that I am today and being a hard worker. And if I want something, to just go pursue it and to just always stay happy doing what I'm doing.
Have you always been like this, Billy? Because I'm curious. Because I meet a lot of young people, and it's very rare when you meet somebody like you that's like, I'm gonna start working, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and really go out there and do it. Because a lot of kids, now like they just want to hang out with their friends or just be on their phones. So like, have you always been just like a go getter?
Everybody has said that since they've met me that I'm a very mature young person. But I've always had this personality of like, if I want this, I'm gonna go do this. But I think that's more of a very like stubborn personality. I was like, I am a very stubborn person, and when I'm set in my ways, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this, and nobody's changing my mind.
I love that though. I feel like that's like the way to be. What's your sign?
I'm a Sagittarius,
Oh, okay, okay.
so
You're
it definitely
Sagittarius.
am very fitting.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I'm like, I need to know what her sign is because I feel like that's very kind of just like telling in terms of like you mentioned being stubborn and wanting to get things done. But seriously though, I applaud that because it is very hard to like there's a lot of people that it takes them a long time to figure out what their passion is in life, especially when you're a lot younger. So I do want to ask you because like what advice would you give to people around your age like whether I know you're 19 now but I feel like you can speak to like 16, 17, 18 year olds and kids that are going from like leaving high school to going into college pretty soon, like what advice would you give them in terms of you know putting in the work and finding their true their passion in life?
Honestly, just be a nice person and, like, talk to people. I felt like just being a nice person and talking to people and just wanting to learn, people gave me so much help and truly wanted to see me succeed. And I felt like it happened in pro wrestling and in my daily life when I was like, "Oh, hey, teachers, this is what I enjoy doing. Is this cool? Can you help me with this? Oh, maybe I can't be here this Friday. Can you help me out?" People truly want what's best for you when you're nice to them and can see that you're truly trying to do everything that you can.
I love that. I seriously love that. So let's go ahead and jump into some of the like the more like nitty gritty details of how you kind of got where you're at right now. So I do know that your father was a photographer, and so I kind of want to get an idea of like where you were at mentally because I know you started training at just the age of 13 years old, which is nuts. It's crazy, right? But for you, where were you at mentally at 13? What were you thinking you were going to do? And when did this idea of like, hey, I'm going to go and train and become a wrestler, when did that whole thing transpire?
So have been saying since I started watching pro wrestling, oh, this is what I want to do when I grow up. It's like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, oh, I want to be a professional wrestler. And everybody's like, what is she talking about? And I've said it ever since I started watching, and me being the stubborn-minded person I am, it never changed. And when I started cheerleading, I actually had the, like, mindset of, like, "Oh, this is for pro wrestling. I'm gonna learn body control. I can get strong. I'll be tossing people up in the air so I can slam people when I go to wrestling." And then I was also doing cross country in middle school. I was like, "Oh, I have great cardio. I can run the ropes forever." Once I start wrestling. Just wrestling training started way earlier than I ever thought it would. And it was just by accident, honestly. I was talking to Madman Pondo at a show with my dad, and we made the joke that, "Oh, Madman Pondo, when are you gonna trade me?" And he was like, "Actually, I know a person." And then introduced me to where I got trained at 13.
Oh my God. It's so, you mentioned like, doing cheerleading and cross country and then always sort of being like, okay, I'm going to do this because this will help me with wrestling. And so it was kind of like always there for you. So you finally get this opportunity to start training. And what was your first day like? Was it an instant love? Did you kind of regret it? Where were you at?
So I actually got invited to a training session before I like signed up and agreed to be at the school. and it originally was supposed to only to be to watch and see how like a normal class was run, and then to see if it's actually something I wanted to pursue. And I remember the class was after one of my cheerleading practices, and my mom ended up taking me, and I started watching the practice, and my trainer invited me into the ring. He was like, "Oh, do you want to hop in with us?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And then I ended up doing the whole training class and falling in love. And my dad came during the training class later on and was talking to my mom and was like, "She has the biggest smile on her face. You're never getting her out of here. You better get ready to sign those papers now."
Wow. So, you're going in there, you're excited and this and that, but did you have like was it like, what was it, the experience like for yourself, like your body, like how did you like the training? Was it hard? Was it, was it easy to you? How did you feel the training was?
So I definitely didn't I'm not the most athletic person, and I'm not. Um, and I was very, very lucky with my trainers that they took the extra time with me and were like, "Okay, let's work on this until you get it perfect." And I felt bad because like the other kids in my class definitely were had to sit and watch me struggle until I was able to get it. And it's funny to think about because a lot of the kids that like I started training with, they all were like, "Oh, it's baby Bill," and now it's like, "Oh my god, you grew up. This is so weird."
That's so cute. It's like they saw you grow up and, become like where you are at now. So, Billy, I do want to ask you because, you're out there training and, you mentioned kind of having to have that extra help. What was I know everyone's experience is different, but what was your experience in terms of how your peers saw you? Because I'm sure there was a mixture of probably older people in your class, or what was that like? What was the demo that you had to work with there?
So, I was definitely the youngest in my class for a very, very long time. And it was just like the normal. And I was definitely treated like the baby of the class, but all the guys knew that I was going to hit them as hard as anybody else in the class. And the joke that I was almost going to hit everybody harder because I was like, if you don't hit me, I'm going to be upset. Because there was like times where everybody was like, "She's so young, I don't want to hurt her," and I would be like, "Well, I want to be treated like everybody else. I'm a wrestler at the end of the day." So we joked that I was the kid with the 5 arm instead of a 4 arm.
Because you had to prove yourself, right? You were like, "Nah, like,
Mhm.
you don't wanna hit me, well, I'm gonna like, hit you hard enough so that you wanna hit me," you know? Get that changed. So what was it like, going out there and having to train with guys and all of that, and being the youngest person too at that? So it's like you got, like, a double whammy, you know?
I think I enjoyed having so many guys in my training class, because they truly I feel like having the experience to wrestle guys and not only girls all the time truly did help me as a wrestler, learning from more people. And I hate saying this, but like there's a limited amount of women on the independents to learn from versus this huge abundance of guys who all have different personalities and ways that they like to do things. So it's like, "Oh, I like your flavor of ice cream. I'm gonna take something from you. I'm gonna take something from you," and mesh it all into something that is me.
I love that though, because it is true though. You are going to learn from all these different types of peoples. Everybody's got different stories, but yeah, there obviously is a little bit, there's a lot more men in the industry, and that's just the way that, it's been for a long time. But we are seeing, now we're seeing more women. So I do want to ask you, now currently speaking, like, what would you say are some of the changes that you've seen from when you first started taking bookings to, to now? Like, do you feel you're seeing more women? And if so, what's the community like? And just, kind of walk us through like maybe some of the differences.
I truly think that the women's community is super, super like protective and caring about one another and truly wanting to see people grow. And it's funny because everybody wants to say, "Oh, we're competing for a spot." There's only a certain number of spots on shows. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I get that, but we don't get better without each other." And that's the truth in wrestling. We need each other. You can't have a match by yourself. You need an opponent.
Exactly. So for you, who are some of the women that you feel you've like really connected with that you either helped you out in your journey that you just really kind of bonded with or that you take inspiration from?
Definitely Jessica Havoc. She's an amazing woman, has helped me very early on my career, and even now, Ruby Soho, she's an amazing person, and if I message her, she'll answer any of my questions, no matter how goofy or crazy it is, she'll take the time and be like, "Yeah, I can help Billy out."
That's so cute. It's like the craziest thing or like the most random thing you've reached out to her for.
Um, I truly don't know because it's all over the place. Because I'm one of those people, I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I have this really weird question about wrestling, and it will be, like, completely random topic that we have never talked about before, and then we'll go into, like, a sidebar conversation when I'm like, "Hey, you when's the next time I see you? Do you wanna see this kid do a 450 off the AC unit?" She's like, "What are you talking about?"
I love that though. That's so cute that you have somebody to be like, hey, like just talking like random stuff with. I love that though. But it's great though that you mentioned about the women really helping each other because without one another you're not going to get better, right? You need to have these spots, you need to have these these opportunities. How do you feel about some of your other like I don't want to say competitors but other women in the field? Like who are some of the people that you're like, man, this person's doing such great stuff, I'm so excited for them or whatever? Just people that you're like fond of currently.
I love Millie McKenzie, so she's always at the top of my list. I think Vert Vixen is killing it on the independents right now. I love the stuff she's been doing at Defy. Her look is evolving, and I feel like she's just becoming her. And I think she's truly found herself, and I think she's a phenomenal wrestler.
I love that. I've gotten to meet her, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That's very awesome. So let's go ahead and get into all of the places that you're working at. I kind of want to touch base a little bit on them. And I want to start off with MLW because they're making a lot of different movements. They're on Reels now on Tuesdays. You get to be part of that. Tell me a little bit about how you got brought on to MLW and what that experience has been like.
I've honestly had a great time with MLW, and I got to make my debut with Kayla Cassidy, who I'm a very familiar with. We trained together, and have traveled with each other for years. So, being able to make my debut the same time she makes her debut, was a great time. And I feel like we honestly bring out the best in each other, but Kayla's definitely a bully. And I do not back down from her. So it was definitely a fun but crazy match. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and they're adding like it looks like they're adding more women to their roster. How do you feel about that?
So I love that they're trying to make improvements to their women's division. And like bringing in Demi, I just saw that she finished signing her contract with MLW, and then there's Taya, and now I've been around MLW for a minute. Kayla was there, Zoe Sky, all like tremendous women that have been killing it on the independents.
It is cool. I'm happy to see more women get brought on board. They already had like a pretty diverse roster with the men, but now we're starting to see a little bit more of diversity within the women. We're seeing, like you mentioned Taya, who's, been there, done that, and, mixing it in with people like yourself and all of that. I think it's really cool to see that. You were recently at the Ring of Honor tapings as well. I want to ask you, what your experience was like. I know you already know pretty much a lot of people because you do the AEW Dark tapings, but what was your experience like doing the Ring of Honor tapings?
Honestly amazing. I had so much fun while I was down there. And I just got to hang out with a bunch of phenomenal wrestlers. And it was also funny because ROH, when I was younger, was like shows I would go to and joke like, oh, if I wanted to choose like anywhere to be, I would want to be here. And it's crazy to think about because there was such like a vibe to ROH, and I feel like it's has that vibe again, and it's just even bigger than what it was before. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to be a part of it. And I also messed with a bunch of like the guys who've been on ROH for a minute, and I posted the picture of me like stupid young hanging out with like Maria Kanellis in the Kingdom when I was like just a baby. And I was like, yeah, I used to go to shows and watch you guys, and now you have to work with me.
Oh my God, what did they say? What was their reaction to that?
Everybody was like, "You make me feel old." And I even joked with Bryce, the ref. He was like, "Yeah, I was looking at your social media and I saw the post and I was like, oh my God, I ref those shows. She's a child." And I was like, I had to grow up. I'm sorry. I'm still so young, and nobody, like, they're like, we love it, but you just make us feel old sometimes. You can't do this to us.
You're like, damn, it happened so fast. You're like, 1 second I was 19, next thing you know, etc. I feel it, man. But that's so cool though, because I feel like when you have stories like that, it just shows your passion and how long you've been a fan, how long you've been interested, and it's so nice to see the new generation of people, wrestlers coming in. So, Billy, I do want to ask you too, in terms of Ring of Honor, and you mentioning your story with that. Is that something that you're looking to like continue doing? Have you gotten any feedback? Like, are you looking to get signed? What's going on there?
So I'm kind of just enjoying this ride and the high that I've been on, and I have currently not signed anything. My goal right now is to finish out high school. I graduate in May, and I still want to be fully committed to school. So finish this year off strong. I only have a couple months left, and we'll see where wrestling and this crazy life I live takes me afterwards.
Good for you, girl, man. Dude, you do what you need to do, and everything happens within when it's supposed to happen, right? Like whatever's
Yeah.
meant for you, it's meant for you. And I feel like right now, like you're just like not in a rush, is how I'm seeing things. Like you're young, you don't have to like directly be like, signed with a company and kind of like trap. I don't want to say trap there, but just kind of kept there, because I do feel part of the growth process is going around and wrestling in all these places, MLW, Ring of Honor, AEW Dark, and GCW too, because I wanted to ask you about that, because I get to ring announce a couple of their shows out here in LA, and the energy in GCW it's unmatched, honestly, when it comes to like indie wrestling. It is unmatched. What has your experience been like, especially because I know that GCW books different types of matches. So what has your experience been like with them?
Honestly, I feel like I've grown so much because of GCW and the matches they have allowed me to have so early on. And then also the locker room is just a great locker room to be part of. I have so many of my friends there that I can go pick their brains, but at the same time, we can go grab pizza and be goofy. And I also got to meet more talent around my age. I had Starboy, I had Nick Wayne, and just having those guys that it was like, oh, maybe I'm not the baby of wrestling anymore. I was like, Nikki's actually younger than me. And we actually got to like talk and like, oh, you have like similar stuff going on to like what I have going on. And it's nice to be like, oh, I'm not alone in this. Somebody's going through
Yeah.
what I'm going through.
It's exactly true. And I have talked to Nick Wayne. He and I had a really phenomenal sit down. And so I do want to ask you, because he did mention something to me about, his body, and wanting to, because he started so early, kind of wanting to preserve your body, and kind of comparisons within like injury stuff, and just like things that just genuinely hurt, right? So I do want to
Mhm.
ask you about that, because I feel like there's a lot of pros. There's so many pros to starting young. For you, what would you say are some of the pros and some of the cons, or do you even feel that there are any? Are you feeling any right now?
So I usually say like the biggest like negative for me is like scheduling. Like I have to work my butt off to make sure I'm staying organized so I have enough time for school so I can maintain my grades while I'm still traveling and doing everything on the road. But it is all the way possible. I just have to be willing to put all this work in to make it work. Even though I am not a fan of school, I know that it is my responsibility to do it. I have to have good grades if I want to go wrestle. And it's always been that way since I've started. And even if I'm going down to Orlando for tapings or doing TV, my mom still expects me to keep my grades where they need to be.
I'm completely with your mom on this one, completely, because it's true, like obviously wrestling is your thing and it's your thing right now, and you're gonna be doing it for years. But you also want to make sure that I guess you don't like gloss over this like important chapter of your life, which is education, right? Are you going to college? Is that your plan?
I do plan on going to college. I got free tuition for 2 years and I'm doing online college. And I feel like it's going to be 100 times easier than the schedule I have right now. So I feel completely prepared for whenever high school is out to still go travel the world and just take a laptop with me and do homework on the road.
Exactly. Like you can definitely do all of that. It's like college is like the best time of your life. So you'll definitely have a wonderful time doing that and just feel so good about it. Okay, Billy. So I do want to go ahead before we get into the last portion of our interview, which is the lightning round. I do still want to ask you, you know, for you, obviously, you're getting ready to finish high school, go into college, and all of that. Ideally, in 5 years, like what is the ideal, the dream vision of where you want to see Billie Starkz at? Like, what's the ideal dream?
Honestly, just having some of the best matches in the world and having fun with wrestling still. I want to make this my career and I wanted to make my living, and I don't want to do anything else but pro wrestling. So in 5 years, I hope I'm still in the ring just having fun.
Hell yeah, you're definitely going to be doing that. I can't wait to see you just like grow and do stuff. So now I'm going to go ahead and ask you 10 super random questions. This is the best way to like kind of get to know you just a little bit more and what you're all about. So let's get right into it. Now, I know you said you're not a fan of school, but what is your favorite subject in school?
So definitely this year I take psychology 101 and it's been my favorite class this year. We're on like a serial killer unit right now and I'm having like a great time. It's actually something I'm super interested in.
Oh, I want to know more about that. Like, what are some of the I guess you can say, I don't want to say like your true favorite, like true crime podcast or TV shows or TV series. Do you watch any of those?
So, I watch this one girl on YouTube that does, like, her makeup and will talk about, like, murder mysteries,
Oh,
and I love it. She does, like, Murder Mystery Mondays, and I really, really enjoy it, and I actually chose one of the things she, like, talks about as she does her makeup. It was called the Ant Hill Kids Cult, and I used that as my project for school, and my teacher loved it. She was like, "I had no idea about this. This is crazy." And I was
it is.
like, "Yeah."
Oh my God. I didn't even know there was I didn't even know about that, that you just mentioned, but also I didn't know that there was somebody on YouTube doing makeup and also, talking about crime and stuff like that. It's just two different things, right? You never would imagine them together.
I feel like that's definitely, like, what I there's 2 loves of mine, like, mashed together, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is right up my alley. I'm going to really enjoy this."
I love that. Okay. Question number two. Favorite place to hang out when you're not wrestling?
My best friend's house. She has, like, a trampoline and a pool in her backyard, and I've been friends with her since middle school. So whenever I get to see her over the weekends and like whenever I'm not all over the place, I love just going over to her house and hanging out.
That's cool. And you also kind of get to practice a little bit. You're like out there in the
Oh
trampoline.
yeah.
That's
I
fun.
joke with
That's
her
really
all the
cool.
time. I'm gonna toss her in from the trampoline into the pool and I'll be like, okay, power bomb, wham. And she's like, you can't toss me around. I'm not a wrestler.
You're like, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. I love that. It's so cool. Question number three, a match or opponent you've learned most from?
Ooh, that's hard. I will say, like, very early on in my career, the person I probably learned most from was Kylie Ray. I had a match with her, when I was a little over a year in, and she honestly helped me out so much so early on in my career, so I'm gonna give it to her.
She's such a nice person. Question number four, what's something aside from wrestling that you're a big fan of? And I guess we kind of touched on it a little bit, but I guess if there's anything else.
I'm a big video game person, and I mostly focus on, like, first shooter games, so I love Call of Duty, I like Splitgate, I like Overwatch, so that's more, like, my second love whenever I'm not wrestling, I can play video games and have fun.
That's and I'm sure, like, I'm not so I don't know anything about video games, like, at all, but, like, anytime I talk to people that love video games, like, I always get, like, like, I always hear their passion for it. I'm like, "This is really cool that you have something like this where you can kind of enter into another world and, just really get invested in it," you know?
Yeah, and I joke that, like, when I'm not wrestling, it helps me get, like, my violent tendencies out. I was, like, definitely becoming a wrestler, and whenever you have a weekend off and you're like, "Oh my god, I have all this pent up, like, energy, what's going on? I feel frustrated," and my mom jokes, like, I get all grumpy when I don't get to wrestle. She was like, "You need to get something out where it's, like, it builds up in you," and I don't know what it is.
You're like, "I need a release here," you know? Uh,
That's a
question
joke.
question number 5, favorite way to spend your time traveling?
Ooh, honestly, I love just hopping on a plane and just falling asleep. If I could sleep on the plane, like, every single time, I would be a happy soul, but there's, like, sometimes I'll get squished right in the middle, and I'm like, "This is the worst, I can't do anything here."
I feel you, man, and it's so much better because then you, like, close your eyes, you wake up, and you're like, "I'm there."
Yes, and it's rough sometimes in the car too, I will say, like, I joke that the traveling beats up my body more than the wrestling sometimes, cause like, trying to sleep in the car and I will wake up and my neck's just sore, I'm like, "What happened?"
You're like, "I'm hurt, and I got hurt just by, like, the window or something." Question number 6, what is your favorite movie?
Ooh, Heathers actually, which
Oh,
is like
yeah,
an
with
older
Winona
movie.
Ryder, right? Yes.
Yes, I love that movie, and everybody thinks I'm crazy when I say it. They're like, "You're young, why do you know about Heathers?" And I was like, "I don't know, somebody showed it to me one day and I fell in love."
I was gonna tell you, I wasn't expecting that answer, but I was so thankful that I knew the movie you were talking about, but yeah, no, it's a good movie. I really like it. Have you seen The Crucible just yet?
I have not.
You should
It's
watch
on
it
my
since you like
watch list.
Winona. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it, but there's so many. Oh my gosh, she's such a great actress. Question number 7, what's your favorite social media app?
Definitely Instagram. Instagram has always been one of my favorites. I feel like I just recently figured out, like, Twitter and had more fun with Twitter, and I've never been a fan of Facebook. I try, but it's like, "Ugh, I don't like this."
Yeah, it's more like a family thing. Question number 8, do you have a pet?
I do. I actually have a dog and I had Thumper, but recently Thumper has gone to the Bum Bum
Mhm.
Brigade, just because of my crazy schedule. I loved him the most and I just wanted him to have a good home and he was still free roam, enjoying everything at the house and played with the dogs, but I was never home to, like, take care of him, make sure he was okay. I was like, my schedule's just getting more and more insane, and I was like, I just don't wanna leave him alone where he's just unhappy and doesn't have anybody.
It makes sense. You made the right call, honestly. Question number 9, what animal is your spirit animal?
Ooh, definitely like a red panda. I
Ooh.
think they're cute, adorable, but definitely very mean.
I love that. That's perfect. That's great. Question number 10, last one. What do you want your fans to know about you?
Genuinely how much I care about wrestling, and I feel like it's hard for me to show it sometimes, but I hope they can see through my matches, like, at the end of the day, all I wanna do is just put on a good show for everybody and for them to leave and go home happy.
I love that. I feel like you can definitely see that. Well, Billy, that was our lightning round. That was our interview. It was so nice to get to know you. And seriously, like, just keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing. You're going to do awesome things. I'm so excited for your future. Before we go, please let the people know where they can find you, where they can support you, and all that good stuff.
All of my social media is at Billie Starkz, Billie, and then Starks is Starkz. And if you want to check out any of my merchandise and support me, you can go to bigstarksbrand.com. And I also have a Patreon, and that's all linked in my Twitter bio.
Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put all of those links in the description box below so you guys can go and give Billie some love on any of those. Again, that'll be in the description box. But until next time, I'm Denise Salcedo. This is Billie Starkz, and we'll catch you guys next time.